Monday mornings at Redwood Valley Medical Center are usually loud enough to make you question every life choice that got you into healthcare. Phones ringing, wheelchairs squeaking, someone arguing with the front desk about insurance, a toddler screaming because they didn't get the sticker they wanted. Yeah, the usual chaos. The kind of noise that fills the air before you even take your first sip of coffee. But that morning, everything snapped. And I don't mean the room got a little quiet. No, it felt like someone hit a cosmic mute button. 1 second the world was a mess of sound. The next, nothing. You could actually feel people freezing mid-motion. A nurse stopped with a stack of charts in her hands. A doctor paused halfway through yelling at a resident. Even the receptionist, who never shuts up, forgot how to breathe. And then, the front doors slid open. At first, nobody understood what they were looking at. The brain just refused to process it. Because standing there, right in the doorway, was a German shepherd drenched in blood. Not just messy, not just injured. This dog looked like he had walked straight out of a war zone. His fur hung in dark, sticky strands. Mud and blood dripped off him with every trembling step. His front leg kept giving out, but he forced himself forward anyway, and draped over his back. God, a little girl. Lily Morgan, 8 years old, barefoot, unconscious. Her arms hung limp. Her skin, this awful purple gray, made your stomach drop. Her yellow shirt was torn open, soaked with blood, dirt, rainwater. Maybe all three. A trail of red followed Ranger as he staggered inside, like the hospital floor itself was bleeding behind him. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Someone else choked on a breath. A nurse dropped her clipboard and didn't even blink. Ranger didn't look at any of us, didn't bark, didn't whine. He just kept moving, straight toward the nurse's station, like he knew this was the only safe place left in the world. And then, he stumbled. The sound of his body hitting the tile, it echoed in a way that didn't make sense. Lily slid off his back, just an inch, but enough to make everyone watching suck in a breath, like we were witnessing the end of something sacred. That's when Nurse Avery Collins snapped into action. She dropped to her knees, hands raised. "Hey, buddy. Hey, it's okay. I've got her, I promise." Ranger lifted his head, barely, just enough for his eyes to meet hers. And in that look, I swear to God, there was something human, something like, "Please, help her. I'm done." But she's not. Avery slid her arms under Lily's freezing body. Ranger growled, not threatening, more like a plea. "It's okay," Avery whispered. "I'm here. I've got her. You did amazing. You brought her home." And for a split second, Ranger stopped growling. His whole body sagged, like he finally got permission to give up. The ER erupted back into chaos, yelling, running, alarms blaring. Through all of it, Ranger tried to stand again. His paws scraped weakly on the tile. His legs buckled, but he lifted his head toward the room where they carried Lily. He didn't care about himself, not even a little. The only thing he cared about was whether she was still breathing. Then his legs folded, his chest hit the floor, his body twitched once and went still. Not dead, thank God, but right on that knife edge between here and gone. A security guard whispered, "Jesus." He brought her in. He actually carried her in. Someone else said, voice cracking, "From where?" But nobody answered, because the only question that mattered was, can either of them survive? What they just escaped? The doors to Trauma Room 3 slammed shut, and it felt like the whole damn building just folded in on itself, like the walls leaned closer, like the air tightened, like the universe whispered, "Okay, now breathe, if you dare." Inside that room, Lily Morgan was losing her heartbeat. Outside that room, Ranger was losing his mind. And me? I swear my hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the chart I was holding. Then it came. The first scream. A nurse shouted, "Her heart rate's dropping, 45 and falling." Another yelled, "She's freezing, get more warmers now." And right at that exact second, Ranger threw himself at the trauma room door so hard the entire hallway flinched. Bang! It wasn't a bark. It wasn't a warning. It was this raw, desperate slam of panic. Like he was trying to headbutt death itself. People gasped behind me. Someone whispered, "Oh God." Nobody moved. Ranger backed up, barely, 2 shaky steps, then lunged again. Bang! His claws scraped across the tile. His body trembled like every bone inside him hurt. But he didn't care. His eyes were locked on that tiny window into the trauma room, timing every hit with the rhythm of Lily's failing heart. Inside, machines started screaming. A monitor shrieked. Nurses cursed under their breath. The terrified kind of cursing that tells you something irreversible is happening. And Ranger, he howled. Not loud, not wolf-like, not aggressive. It was this cracked, broken sound, like his soul was leaking out through his lungs. Nurse Avery whispered, "He knows. He feels it." And she was right. He didn't need machines, didn't need charts. Whatever was happening to Lily, he felt it through some strange, invisible thread tying them together. "Somebody grab him!" one of the ER techs shouted. But no one touched him. Not one person. Because even bloody, wild, slamming his body into a door, nobody felt unsafe. What they felt was something else. Something like watching a soldier fight while his partner lay dying 20 feet away. Then it got worse. Inside the room, someone screamed, "She's not perfusing! She's not getting oxygen! Her heart's in the 30s! Ranger. God. Ranger lost it. He hurled his entire weight at the window. Crack! A spiderweb fracture exploded across the glass. Not breaking, but threatening. Avery gasped, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" Ranger didn't stop. He hit the door again, and again, and again. Each hit lining up with the slowing, staggering beeps inside. A doctor shouted, "We're losing her! Get the epinephrine now!" Ranger collapsed, his front legs giving out. But he clawed his way back up, limping, bleeding, shaking. He pressed his nose to the glass, leaving a smear of blood, and made this soft, dying whine, like begging, like pleading, like please don't leave. I followed you this far. Don't leave me now. And then the monitor flatlined. Not a long beep, not a full dead tone. Just a moment. A terrifying, heart-stopping moment. Ranger exploded, threw himself at the door harder than ever. 2 nurses screamed. A security guard reached for his radio, but didn't press the button because this wasn't a dog losing control. This was a creature watching the only person he lived for slip away. Inside, the doctor yelled, "Charging! Clear!" The defibrillator hit Lily's chest. Ranger yelped. Actually yelped. Like he felt it too. Something inside me just broke. Avery whispered, "Come on, sweetheart. Please." And it felt like the whole hallway whispered with her. Then, the monitor beeped. Once. Then again. Higher. Steadier. "We've got a rhythm! She's responding!" a nurse shouted. Outside, Ranger slid down the door, exhausted, like whatever held him upright finally let go. He rested his head at the base of the door, eyes half closed, but still pointed toward Lily. Avery knelt beside him, gently touching his shoulder. "You did good, Ranger. You did so good." He blinked slow, barely strong enough even for that. Inside, Lily's numbers climbed. Not perfect, not even stable, but alive. Alive enough that people finally breathed again. Alive enough that the ER didn't feel like a tomb. Alive enough that Ranger, somehow, knew he could stop fighting for just 1 minute. And watching him lie there, broken, bleeding, refusing to look away from the girl behind that door, it hit everyone the same way. They weren't just connected, they were surviving for each other. And honestly, after watching Ranger practically tear down a hospital door because Lily's heart flatlined for half a breath, you'd think that was the worst part of the nightmare. But nope, not even close. Because while the doctors were fighting to keep that little girl alive, 2 people were already out there chasing the story of how she ended up on a dying dog's back in the first place. Sheriff Dalton Reeves and Ranger Melissa Hart were halfway up Black Pine Road before anyone even had time to process what the hell had happened at Redwood Valley Medical. They weren't talking. They weren't theorizing. No tossing ideas back and forth. This was different. Quiet. Focused. A silent urgency that only shows up when everyone already knows the situation is going to be bad. Really bad. The cruiser slowed as they reached the trailhead. Black pine wilderness loomed ahead. Dark, dense. The kind of forest that swallows light even at noon. And this wasn't noon. Clouds pressed low on the treetops, like a warning. Melissa stepped out first, squinting at the mud. There, she said softly. Blood. A lot of it. And she wasn't exaggerating. The trail wasn't faint, wasn't scattered. It was a straight, horrifying red smear leading into the trees, like something or someone had been dragged or carried or crawling. Reeves crouched, running a gloved hand through it. Fresh, he muttered. Maybe 2 hours old. Melissa exhaled sharply. Then we're close. They followed the trail deeper into black pine. Boots sinking into wet soil, branches snapping underfoot. And the deeper they went, the quieter the world became. No birds, no squirrels, no wind. Just nothing. Not peaceful silence, suffocating silence. About half a mile in, Melissa stopped. So abruptly, Reeves nearly slammed into her. She raised her flashlight. Dalton, look! In the center of a small clearing hung a shredded blue tarp, tied crookedly between 2 bent pine trees. The knots were sloppy, angry, like somebody tied them fast with shaking hands. The tarp flapped weakly in the wind, making this sad, exhausted sound that made the hairs on their arms rise. Reeves pushed aside a strip of torn plastic and stepped inside. What he saw was hell. Damp blankets, a broken lantern, empty food cans. Dirt kicked into frantic patterns, and on the ground, half buried under wet leaves, a tiny pink sneaker. Melissa picked it up gently. This is Lily's. It has to be. Reeves didn't answer. He was staring at something else. On the far side of the tarp, carved deep into the bark of a massive pine, so deep the blade nearly snapped, were 3 jagged words. No return allowed. The letters were furious, terrified, violent. Reeves swallowed. Jesus, Melissa shivered. This guy wasn't planning on letting her go. Reeves scanned the clearing. Drag marks, he murmured. Something heavy, someone resisting. Here, Melissa added, pointing. Looks like someone was tied to this tree. Rope fibers. Reeves knelt, brushed soil aside, revealed a clear paw print. Big, deep, trembling. Ranger was here. Melissa nodded slowly. He didn't just stumble across her. He stayed. Multiple prints circled the clearing. Long hours of waiting. Some spots showed where he'd lain down, over and over, probably trying to keep Lily warm. He guarded her, Reeves whispered. For days, Melissa breathed. But then, things went darker. Behind the tarp, half hidden, was a length of rope, cut, frayed, and beside it, a trail of torn earth where something had been dragged violently deeper into the forest. Melissa froze. Dalton. Boot prints. Heavy tread. A man's size. Fresh. Very fresh. Reeves clenched his jaw. Derek Hale. He was here. Recently. Melissa's voice darkened. So Lily wasn't just kidnapped. She was hunted. And Ranger, Reeves whispered. He fought him. He must have. Melissa nodded. He bought her hours, maybe days. Silence settled again. Thick, wrong, almost alive. And in that silence, Reeves finally said the thing nobody wanted to admit earlier. If Ranger hadn't shown up when he did, Lily wouldn't be alive right now. Melissa didn't argue. She couldn't. The truth was bleeding into the ground around them. 2 sets of footprints. 1 tiny shoe. 1 wounded dog. A carved threat. A forest that swallowed a child whole. And somehow, 1 broken animal dragged her all the way out. Reeves exhaled slowly. We need to get back. And we need to assume Hale's not finished. Melissa whispered, monsters don't just wander off. They began walking back, silent. Not because there was nothing to say, but because there was too much to say, and none of it felt safe in the open air yet. And looking at that clearing, at everything Lily survived, and everything Ranger fought through, it left only one question echoing in the mind. If Ranger hadn't reached her first, would Lily have survived even a single night out there? Yes, no, or hell no. And the thing is, while Sheriff Reeves and Ranger Hart were out there piecing together the nightmare inside Black Pine, something just as terrifying was happening back inside Redwood Valley Medical. Something nobody was ready for. Because Lily Morgan didn't wake up gently. She didn't blink her way back into the world. She burst into it, like someone fighting to escape drowning. It started with this tiny twitch, barely noticeable. Nurse Avery thought Lily was just shifting under the blankets. One of those little reflex things kids do when they're dreaming. But then Lily's fingers jerked, hard. Her breathing hitched. Her eyelids fluttered like her body was trying to decide if it even wanted to come back. Avery leaned in. Hey, sweetheart. Lily, can you hear me? And God. The moment Avery said her name, Lily shot upright like someone yanked her out of a nightmare by the throat. She gasped. A sharp, ragged sound, like she'd been underwater. Her eyes flew open, wide and absolutely wild, pupils blown with a terror so raw it didn't look human. She wasn't here. She wasn't in this room. She was back in the forest, still tied to that tree, still waiting for footsteps to come closer through the dark. Then she screamed, "Don't let Derek find me!" It wasn't just a scream. It was a plea, a warning, a last breath. Her whole body jerked backward, arms flying up to protect her face like she thought someone was about to hit her. The monitor behind the bed jumped. Spikes of frantic green climbing so fast, Avery's heart nearly stopped. "Lily, hey, sweetie, it's okay," Avery said, hands up, palms open. "You're safe. You're in the hospital." But Lily didn't hear a damn word. Her chest heaved like she couldn't get air. Her legs kicked weakly under the blankets. She scrambled backward so fast, she nearly ripped out her IV. "Don't let him take me. Don't let him, please, please." Her voice cracked into 1,000 pieces. Avery reached for her, then pulled her hand back, then reached again. She didn't want to scare Lily more, but she also didn't want the girl yanking out a line and bleeding all over the place. "It's okay," Avery whispered, even though her own voice shook. "Honey, listen to me. Derek isn't here. You're safe." But the machines behind Lily didn't believe that. They spiked harder, alarms screamed, and then… Ranger. He wasn't supposed to be standing. He shouldn't have been awake. The dog had lost more blood than any animal had a right to survive. But the second Lily screamed, something in him snapped awake like someone lit a fire under his ribs. He shoved himself up from the floor outside the trauma bay, legs trembling like wet branches, and staggered to the glass. Then he let out the sound. Not a bark, not a growl, a sound like a broken soul trying to claw its way through steel. A low, guttural whine that cracked halfway through, like it hurt him just to make it. Lily heard it. Her head whipped toward the door so fast, Avery actually flinched. For 1 second, one thin, fragile second, Lily's eyes focused, locked, recognized him. "Our Ranger," she whispered, voice barely a thread. The dog whined again, pressing his forehead against the glass, leaving a smear of blood from the stitches along his brow. And Lily broke. Her shoulders caved. Her hands trembled as they lowered from her face. Tears spilled down both cheeks. Not gentle tears, but the hard, shaking kind that force their way out of you because you can't hold them anymore. Avery moved fast then, sliding onto the bed beside her, pulling the girl gently into her arms. "It's okay, honey. You're safe. I promise you're safe." But Lily was shaking so violently, Avery had to brace her. He said he'd come back," Lily sobbed. He said I wasn't done yet." Avery swallowed hard. "He's not here, baby. He can't get to you. Not anymore." Lily shook her head, sharp and panicked. "He always comes back." Outside the door, Ranger whimpered louder, pacing in weak, uneven circles like he wanted to tear through the wall, but his legs wouldn't let him. Avery gently brushed Lily's hair out of her face. "Hey, can you look at me for a second?" Lily forced her eyes up. "You're safe," Avery said again, slower this time. "Do you see that dog? He didn't let anything happen to you out there, and he won't let anything happen to you in here." Lily stared past her at Ranger, something shattered and something hopeful flickering in her expression. "He found me," Lily whispered, "in the dark, when it was cold. He didn't leave." Avery felt her throat tighten. "No, sweetheart, he didn't." Lily curled into Avery's chest, her breathing still ragged, but slowly grounding as she kept glancing at Ranger through the window, like she needed to check every few seconds that he was really there, and not something her mind invented just to survive. Ranger lowered himself onto the floor again, too exhausted to stand, but he never took his eyes off her. Not once. And honestly, watching the two of them like that, both broken, both terrified, both clinging to each other through a sheet of glass, It hit you in this weird, painful way that didn't feel normal. It felt ancient, instinctive, like something deep in the universe had tied their lives together long before this day. Avery kept whispering soft nonsense. "You're okay. I'm here. He can't hurt you now." Even though Lily wasn't really hearing the words, she was staring at Ranger like he was the only anchor she had left in the world. Time 1200 mems. And maybe he was. Because the fear in that room wasn't just fear. It was fear that still had teeth. Fear that still had a name. Fear that lived inside Lily like a shadow that refused to move. So here's the question. And I mean really think about it. If that bond between them is the only thing holding her together, what happens the next time Derek Hale steps out of the dark? And honestly, after seeing the way Lily woke up screaming like she was still trapped in that forest, you'd think things might calm down. Just for a minute. A breath. Something. But nope. Not even close. Because what happened next was the kind of thing that makes you question everything you thought you knew about reality. Whatever was between Lily and Ranger, that invisible thread tying them together, it didn't just show up in life or death moments. It was constant. It was loud. And honestly, it was terrifying. It started that same night. The hospital had settled into that strange ER quiet. Not real quiet, but that everyone's exhausted but pretending they're fine kind of quiet. The lights were dim. Machines hummed softly. And Lily was finally asleep. Avery stood by the monitors, rubbing her eyes. "Please, just let her rest. One peaceful hour." Yeah, no such luck. One moment Lily's breathing was steady, peaceful even. The next, her face tightened, a wrinkle between her brows, a small, broken whimper, a sound so faint you wouldn't normally even hear it. But Ranger heard it. The dog shot upright from where he lay outside the trauma room. His head jerked up so fast his stitches pulled, pain rippling down his shoulders. But he didn't care. His ears perked. His chest expanded like he was bracing for impact. And then Lily whimpered again. A nightmare. Just a nightmare. Except it wasn't just anything. Inside the room, her heart rate spiked. A sharp jump. The monitor beeped twice. Outside, Ranger growled, low and deep, the kind of sound that doesn't come from anger, but from instinct. Avery turned. "No, no, sweetheart. You're okay," she whispered to Wutawang, Lily, even though Lily couldn't hear her. But Ranger could feel it. He stood, shaky legs, uneven breaths, dragging himself closer to the window until his nose pressed against the glass. His chest vibrated with a soft, pained rumble. Then Lily gasped, in her sleep. A sharp inhale like someone grabbed her by the throat inside her own dream. And Ranger, God. Ranger let out a sound I swear I'll never forget. A howl, not loud, not dramatic, not a Hollywood wolf howl, but a strangled, desperate, breaking sound, like he was calling for someone to come save her because he couldn't get through the damn glass. Avery jerked toward the door. What the? But Ranger wasn't looking at her. He was staring at Lily, shaking, like his whole body was begging her to wake up. The monitor spiked again. Her chest heaved. Her fingers clawed at the blanket. Avery rushed to her side. Lily, honey, it's not real. Wake up! But the kid was deep inside whatever memory she was reliving. And Ranger? He rammed the door. Not hard enough to break it, but enough that the frame rattled. Enough that Avery dropped a syringe. Enough that two nurses peeked their heads out across the hall. Is that dog okay? One whispered. Avery didn't look away from Lily. He's not reacting to pain. He's reacting to her. And you didn't need a medical degree to see what was happening. The girl's heart jumped. The dog flinched. The girl whimpered. The dog howled. The girl twisted in fear. The dog pawed at the door like he'd rip it off its hinges. It was primal, like they shared the same heartbeat, the same oxygen, the same fear. Avery finally got Lily to settle, stroking her hair, whispering nonsense, pulling her back into the room. Time. Lily's muscles eased. Her breathing softened. The monitor steadied. Outside, Ranger collapsed onto his chest, panting hard, like he'd just sprinted 10 miles uphill with no air. Avery stepped outside the door and crouched beside him. Hey, buddy, you can rest now. She's okay. Ranger blinked, slow, heavy, then nudged the base of the door with his nose, still making that soft rumble deep in his throat. Avery whispered, "You're really something else, aren't you?" And this is what got everyone. Because when Avery returned to the nurse's station, she leaned in close, lowered her voice, and said something no one expected to hear from a trained medical professional. If we separate them, one of them is going to die. The nurse next to her blinked. Avery, you don't mean that literally. Oh, I do, she muttered. I've never seen anything like this. Whatever is between them, it's keeping both of them alive. And the night went on like that. Tiny spikes in Lily's vitals. Ranger jolting up. A twitch in her hand. Ranger whining. A nightmare starting. Ranger crying into the glass like he was begging the universe to stop showing her things he couldn't protect her from anymore. And the crazy thing, the impossible thing, he reacted before the machines did, before the alarms, before the beeps, before Avery even saw the numbers change. It wasn't medical. It wasn't behavioral. It wasn't logical. It was something else. Something that doesn't belong in textbooks or charts. Something born in a freezing forest, where a terrified little girl and a half-dead dog survived by sharing the same hope, the same breath. Avery watched Ranger for a long time that night. Arms crossed, thinking, trying to understand. But in the end, she didn't. She just whispered, "They're not two patients. They're one." And honestly, I don't think she was wrong. So tell me, really, If you had been standing in that hallway, watching that dog feel every second of that little girl's fear, what would you have believed? And the wild thing is, after everything that happened, Lily waking up screaming, Ranger reacting like her heartbeat was wired into his bones, you'd think the universe would give everyone a damn break. Just one quiet night. One peaceful shift. But no, life doesn't work like that. Especially not when the nightmare you escaped decides it isn't finished with you yet. It started small. Too small. The kind of thing you'd ignore on any other night. A flicker. Just one hallway light twitching above the nurse's station. Then another. Then the whole row of lights buzzed, dimmed, then came back too bright. Avery frowned. What the? Did maintenance mess with the breakers again? But it wasn't just the lights. The air changed too. You know that feeling when an elevator drops half a floor and your stomach floats? Yeah, like that. Except sideways. Like the pressure in the building shifted just enough to make your skin prickle. Is there a storm coming? A tech muttered. Nah, another said. Sky was clear 10 minutes ago. Avery stepped into the hall, looking left, right, confused. Something's off. She wasn't wrong. Even Ranger felt it. He'd been lying outside Lily's room, barely awake, sore, exhausted, when suddenly his ears snapped up like someone struck him. His whole body tensed. He turned toward the far end of the hallway, so fast his stitches pulled. But he didn't make a sound. Not yet. Then, the side entrance door clicked open, and that was the moment every single nerve in Ranger's body detonated. Times 1,500 mems. A man walked in. Scrubs, mask low, clipboard in hand. Something about him was wrong. The posture, the pace, the stillness in his shoulders. The way he didn't even glance around like a normal person entering a hospital. Then he lifted his head, and Ranger erupted. Not a bark, not a warning. He detonated. A sound ripped out of his chest like thunder in a metal hallway. Every head snapped toward him. Doors opened. Nurses froze. A visitor gasped loud enough to echo. Avery spun. Ranger? What's... But Ranger was already moving. Not running. Launching. Every drop of energy he had left poured into one violent moment. He slammed into the glass, separating him from the hall. Boom! The window shuddered. A spiderweb crack shot outward. Oh my God! Ranger, stop! Avery cried. But he didn't hear her. He didn't hear anything. His eyes were locked onto the man in scrubs. And that man... He smiled. Not wide, not friendly. Just a tiny, flat, dead smile that should never be on a human face. Avery's breath shook. No. No way. Because even with the mask, even with the scrubs, even with the changed clothes, the truth was obvious. Derek Hale had walked straight back into the hospital. He ignored Ranger completely. Like the dog was noise. A barrier. A thing. His eyes drifted to Lily's door. Slowly. Deliberately. And the way he looked at that room, it was death. Cold. practiced, familiar. Ranger lost his mind. He hurled himself at Stun. The door again. Crack! Boom! Scrape! His paws clawed at the metal. His teeth flashed. His whole body shook with a terror born from knowing exactly what this man had done. "Hey, sir, you can't be back here!" a security guard shouted. Derek didn't break stride. "He came back to finish it," Avery whispered, horrified. Ranger's snarls deepened, darker, the kind of sound that says, "I will die before I let you take her again." Derek reached Lily's door, laid his hand on the handle. Calm, steady, like he wasn't committing a felony, like he was picking up dry cleaning. Avery snapped back to life. "Security, now!" Someone ran for the alarm. Someone else grabbed their radio. But Derek didn't run, didn't panic, didn't even look concerned. He leaned toward the window, that small rectangle of glass, and whispered in this soft, practiced, almost gentle voice, "Hi, sweetheart. Miss me?" Avery gasped. "No, don't touch that door!" Ranger slammed into the glass again, another crack splitting across it. Blood smeared, fur stuck. He didn't stop. He didn't care. Because Derek Hale wasn't just danger. He wasn't just evil. He was the thing Lily feared more than death. Avery rushed toward him. "Back away from that door!" Derek finally looked at her. That same dead smile, never touching his eyes. "I'm taking her home." The hallway went silent, not quiet. Dead. Every cell in every person's body understood those words. This wasn't over. This nightmare wasn't done. The monster wasn't finished. And Ranger, times 600 pounds. He was about to break the whole damn hospital trying to stop him. So let me ask you something real. If you were standing in that hallway, watching this man walk toward a terrified child, would you have frozen? Or would you have thrown yourself at him like Ranger did? And the crazy part is, even after Derek Hale whispered that sickening, "I'm taking her home," nobody had time to process the horror of it. Because the second those words left his mouth, everything, and I mean everything, happened at once. Avery lunged. The security guard shouted. Someone slammed the emergency alarm. But Derek? Derek didn't flinch, didn't pause, didn't blink. He threw the trauma room door open like it belonged to him. Lily screamed before she even saw him. Some awful instinct lighting her up from the inside. Her body recognizing the monster faster than her mind could. "No, no, no, don't let him!" Her heartbeat spiked. The monitor went wild, and Derek moved. Fast, too fast. He wasn't running. He was charging. A violent blur heading straight for the bed. Avery grabbed the closest thing she could, a rolling stool thumb, and hurled it at him. "Don't you touch her!" Derek backhanded her so hard she hit the counter and crumpled. And that was the moment Ranger lost all sense of pain, exhaustion, stitches, limits, reality. The dog exploded. The cracked glass didn't slow him. He hit it once, hard, and the entire panel shattered inward in a storm of jagged shards. He burst through them like a living missile, blood flying from fresh cuts, but he didn't feel a single one. He skidded, regrouped, then launched himself at Derek with a sound. God, a sound you had to witness to believe. Not a bark, not a growl, a war cry. Pure animal fury, braided with something terrifyingly human. Terror, love, desperation. Ranger slammed into Derek's ribs hard enough to knock him off his feet. They crashed into a medical cart, metal tools scattering everywhere. Derek roared, shoving Ranger off. "You again? I should have killed you first!" And he reached into his pocket. Avery, bleeding, dizzy, screamed, "No! He has a knife!" It happened in half a heartbeat. Derek raised the blade. Ranger lunged straight into it. The knife sank deep, so deep the handle hit fur. Blood erupted, hot and horrifying. A spray across Derek's arm, the bed, the wall. Ranger made a sound, short, sharp, the kind that breaks something in your chest. But he didn't fall, didn't back up, didn't stop. Somehow, impossibly, he pushed forward with the knife still inside him and crashed into Derek again, jaws snapping, claws scraping desperately for traction. They slammed to the ground. Derek's skull hit the corner of a supply cabinet. Ranger latched onto his forearm, teeth burying deep. Derek screamed, a sound sharp enough to rattle the lights. "Filthy mutt! Get off!" He punched Ranger's ribs again and again, but Ranger held on, even with blood filling his throat, even as his body trembled violently, even with steel still buried in his chest. Because Lily had curled into the corner of the bed, sobbing, shaking, too terrified to even scream. Ranger saw her, the fear in her eyes, the same girl he carried through the dark, the one he kept warm in the freezing forest, the one he nearly died for, more than once. And something in him snapped. He released Derek's arm, only for a second, then lunged upward, slamming both paws into Derek's chest. Derek wheezed. The air punched out of him. Ranger stood over him, snarling so deep his whole frame shook. Blood pouring from his chest, muzzle, paws. He looked like death wearing fur, but he stood between Lily and the man trying to destroy her. Derek spat blood. "Move, dog!" He lunged forward, grabbed the knife handle still inside Ranger, and twisted. Ranger choked. His legs buckled, his whole body convulsed. But he didn't fall. He lunged again, jaws snapping inches from Derek's throat. And that was when security finally crashed into the room. "Get him down! Taser ready! He's armed!" 3 guards tackled Derek at once, slamming him to the tile, wrenching the knife free as they dragged him backward. Derek fought like a demon, kicking, clawing, screaming. "She's mine. She was supposed to be mine. Let go of me." It took all 3 of them to pin him down. Meanwhile, Ranger staggered backward. He tried to bark, a warning, a reassurance, something, but blood gurgled in his throat instead. He swayed, once, twice, his back legs folded, then his front. He collapsed onto the tile in a heavy, broken heap that made the whole room freeze. "Ranger!" Avery screamed, crawling to him. Lily sobbed harder, reaching toward him with trembling hands. "No, no, Ranger, please, get up, please." Ranger's chest rose unevenly, shallow, shuddering breaths tearing through him. Blood pooled beneath him, too fast, too deep. His eyes fluttered, his ears twitched. Toward Lily one last time. Avery pressed her hands to the wound. "Stay with me, boy, stay. Don't you leave her. Don't you dare leave her." Outside, down the hall, people shouted, arresting Derek, calling surgeons, chaos everywhere. But inside that room, everything narrowed to Ranger and Lily. A dying dog, a broken child. One last fragile thread connecting them both to life. Now tell me, be honest. If you had to choose between Ranger survives, Lily survives, both survive, or neither survives, what does your gut say after everything he just did? And the thing is, after that violent, bloody mess in the trauma room, Derek screaming, security wrestling him down, Ranger collapsing like his bones finally gave up. You'd think the chaos would slow down. But no. What happened next wasn't chaos. It was heartbreak. Raw, loud, the kind that squeezes your ribs from the inside. The second Ranger hit the floor. The room changed. Like the air thinned. Like the lights dimmed. Like everyone suddenly understood something awful was happening right in front of them. His breathing was wrong. Wet. Shaky. Barely there. Avery pressed her hands to the wound, but the blood kept seeping through her fingers. Warm. Terrifying. "Stay with me, buddy. Come on. Stay," she whispered, voice cracking. But then Lily. God. The sound Lily made when she realized Ranger wasn't moving. It didn't sound human. It sounded like grief tearing out of her lungs in one violent sob. She shoved the blankets off so fast her IV ripped halfway out of her arm. The monitors shrieked. Alarms ignited. But Lily didn't care. She didn't even notice. She dragged herself off the bed. "Lily, no!" a nurse yelled. Too late. Lily's feet hit the cold tile, knees buckling instantly, her tiny body crashing forward, catching herself with trembling hands. Then she crawled toward Ranger, sobbing, shaking, every inch costing her everything she had left. "No, no, Ranger," she cried, breath hiccuping, words broken. A nurse tried to lift her. Lily fought like a cornered animal. "Let me go! Let me go!" She slipped from their arms, hitting the floor again, palms sliding through Ranger's blood. But she kept crawling. Time seconds. She reached him. Finally. Collapsing against his head like her body gave out all at once. She wrapped her arms around him, tiny fingers gripping his fur, cheek pressed to his skull, tears soaking dried blood. "Ranger," she whispered. Then louder, broken. "Ranger, please, please don't go. Don't leave me too. Everyone left me. Everyone, don't. Her whole body convulsed with each sob, shoulders trembling, breathing jagged. Ranger didn't move. His chest rose, once, barely, then again, weaker, then nothing. "We're losing him!" Avery shouted. Doctors rushed in. "Get pressure on that wound, now!" Where's the surgical team? Prep a gurney! And when they tried to take Ranger away, Lily screamed, "No, don't take him. He needs me. He needs me. He saved me. Don't take him." She clung to him, fingers tangled in his fur. "Sweetheart, we have to help him," a nurse pleaded. "You're hurting him," Lily sobbed. "Stop! You're hurting him. We're trying to save him." "No, you're not! You're lying!" She lunged again, hugging Ranger, burying her face in his neck. Avery rushed to her side. "Lily, honey, listen. We're taking him to surgery. That's how we save him. But you have to let us." Lily shook her head violently. "He'll die if I let go. He'll die. He always gets hurt when I'm not there. Please, please, don't make me." Avery broke. Her face cracked before she caught it. A doctor crouched beside them. "We have 60 seconds, or he won't make it." Avery swallowed hard. "Lily, look at me." Lily didn't. Avery touched her back. "He carried you for miles. He never let go. Now you have to be the brave one. You have to help him." Lily's fingers loosened. Just barely. Enough for the nurses to lift Ranger onto the gurney. The second they pulled him away, Lily let out a collapsing sob that punched the entire room straight in the chest. "No, Ranger, please, Ranger!" She lunged. Avery caught her midair. "Let me go!" Lily screamed, kicking, thrashing, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Avery held her tight, like she was trying to hold together a breaking soul. "I know, baby. I know. I know." "No, you don't!" Lily screamed. "He saved me! He saved me! Don't let him die! Don't, please!" Her breath hitched, vision blurred, her body softened, like the grief itself was shutting her down. "Lily! Lily!" Avery shook her. "Vitals cart, now!" Meanwhile, the surgical team raced Ranger down the hall, blood dripping off the gurney in a thin red trail. "We're losing him! Move!" someone shouted. Lily reached out one trembling hand, fingers stretching toward him, desperate. "Ranger," she whispered, voice fading. "Please come back." And right there, in that hallway, 2 lives hung by a single fraying thread. Because the truth was brutal. If Ranger died, Lily might not survive the grief. If Lily broke, Ranger might not survive the surgery. They weren't just connected. They were the same battle, the same breath, the same fragile miracle trying desperately to outlive the monster who broke them. Now tell me, whose pain hit you harder? Lily's, Ranger's, or both? Crashing together like one heart breaking in 2. And honestly, after watching Lily collapse, screaming while Ranger bled out on a gurney, it felt impossible that anything could get worse. But somehow, the world found a way. Because the next 5 hours weren't just tense. They were the kind of hours that chew you up from the inside, grind your nerves raw, and make you believe in miracles only so they can rip them away again. They rushed Ranger into emergency surgery, wheels squealing down the hall like the building itself was panicking. Nurses shouted codes, surgeons barked orders, someone yelled for a transfusion. Another yelled, "We don't have enough canine blood. Get synthetic substitutes now. Now means now." Through all of this, Lily refused to let go of Ranger's collar. Avery had pulled it off right before they pushed him into the OR, and Lily clutched it with both hands, like her entire life depended on that strip of leather and metal. She sat in a plastic chair outside the operating wing, legs curled up, knuckles white, eyes red and distant. She didn't blink much, didn't talk, barely breathed. Every time someone in scrubs walked by, she jumped. Every time an alarm beeped somewhere down the hall, she flinched, gripping the collar so tight the metal tag dug into her palm. Avery stayed with her. Didn't leave. Didn't lie. Didn't make empty promises. She just whispered, "I'm right here, honey. I'm not going anywhere." But Lily wasn't really listening. Her mind was behind those double doors, lying on that table next to the dog who had carried her through hell. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like days. And then, the first shout came from the OR. "He's crashing!" The words slammed into the hallway like a gunshot. Lily's head snapped up, her voice a tiny, breaking whisper. "No." Avery jumped up. "Stay here, Lily, stay." But Lily didn't stay. She staggered to her feet, one hand on the wall for balance, the other clutching the collar like a lifeline. Another shout. "ECG's dropping. We're losing pulse." "No, no, no," Lily gasped, breath spiraling too fast. Avery knelt in front of her. "Honey, look at me. He's got the best team in there. They're doing everything." But then, the sound hit. The long, flat, unforgiving beep of a heart that's stopping. The kind of beep that ends stories. Lily let out a noise, small, strangled, not even a word. She collapsed to her knees, collar clutched to her chest. "Please, please don't die," she whispered, rocking. "Please, don't go where I can't follow." Avery pulled her close, whispering, "You're okay, baby. I've got you." Even though nothing was okay. Inside the OR, chaos erupted. "Charge to 10. Clear." No response. "Try again." "Clear." "Still nothing. He's slipping." Lily covered her ears, but the voices still stabbed through the air. "Don't let him die," she whispered. "He came for me. He can't die alone." The flatline continued. One long, merciless beep. People looked away. A nurse covered her mouth. A tech whispered, "Poor thing." It felt over, finished. And then, something changed. A blip. Tiny. Gentle. Impossible. A hiccup in the flatline. Then another. And another. Stronger. "Time 200 mems." "Wait! Hold on! He's got a rhythm!" someone shouted. Another voice, shocked, breathless. "Where the hell did that come from?" Lily froze mid-sob. Avery looked up sharply. "Did you hear that?" Then the OR doors burst open. Dr. Moreno stepped out, sweating, mask down, eyes wide like she'd just watched a ghost sit up on her table. She walked straight to Lily and crouched. For a moment she didn't speak. She just looked at the little girl holding that collar like prayer beads. Then she exhaled, voice trembling. "He made it." Lily's mouth fell open, but no sound came. Avery squeezed her shoulder. "Sweetheart, did you hear her?" Dr. Moreno nodded, wiping her forehead. "I don't know how. He had no pulse. We were seconds from calling time." And then she gave a shaky laugh, equal parts disbelief and wonder. Then his heart just came back, like he wasn't done fighting. Lily covered her face and sobbed. But these weren't sharp sobs anymore. These were relief sobs, soft, collapsing, the kind that empty your lungs and fill them again with hope. Dr. Moreno touched her knee. "He heard something," she said softly. "I swear." It felt like he heard something and decided he wasn't leaving yet. Avery looked at Lily, then at the collar in her hands. "Maybe he did," she whispered. Lily curled around the collar, like she finally had permission to breathe again. And honestly, watching that kid shake with relief after hours of hell, you couldn't help but feel it too. That strange, impossible miracle. Now tell me, honestly, what hit you harder? Lily's pain, Ranger's pain, or both of them crashing together like one heart, breaking in two? And honestly, after those 5 hours in surgery, where Ranger's life dangled on a thread thinner than hope itself, nobody knew what came next. Not the surgeons, not Avery, not even Lily, who fell asleep clutching his collar like it was the last warm thing left in the universe. But what happened over the next few weeks didn't feel like medicine, didn't feel like luck. It felt like two shattered souls learning how to breathe again, together. They discharged Lily first, not because she was healed, no, not even close, but because staying in the hospital was hurting her more than helping. She jumped at every alarm. She shook whenever a man walked by. She refused to sleep unless Ranger was somewhere she could hear him breathing. So Avery did the thing nobody expected. She signed the papers, filled out the emergency foster request, and took Lily home. Just like that. One day Lily had nobody. The next, she had a woman who refused to let her slip through the cracks. Avery's house wasn't big. A little 2-bedroom place at the edge of Redwood Valley. Creaky floors, mismatched furniture, a porch swing that squeaked if you breathed near it. But to Lily, it was heaven. A place with warmth. A place where doors didn't lock from the outside. And 3 days later, Ranger came home too. Still stitched, still limping, still carrying that long scar down his chest. But alive. Alive in a way that felt like a second chance he had chosen to take. From the moment Avery brought him inside, he made it clear where he intended to stay. He walked straight into Lily's room, slow, careful, each step a little uneven. Then he rested his chin on the chisung, edge of her bed. Lily looked at him like she couldn't believe he was real. Then her fingers slid into his fur, slow, trembling, gentle. "You came back," she whispered. Ranger's tail thumped once, like he was saying, "Of course I did." Something inside Lily cracked open. Not the breaking kind, the healing kind. Her shoulders loosened, her breath steadied. For the first time since they found her, she didn't look afraid. From that night on, Ranger slept beside her bed. Every single night. Didn't matter what the vet said. Didn't matter that he needed crate rest. He dragged himself to her room anyway and lay down where he could see her face. And Lily? Lily slept. Really slept. No nightmares, no screaming, just her tiny hand resting on Ranger's fur, anchoring herself to the world again. Avery would peek in at night and swear they were breathing in sync. Days passed. A week. 2 weeks. The bruises on Lily's arms faded. The darkness under her eyes lightened. Her hair softened back into something that belonged to a child. The house grew brighter, louder, more alive. But the moment Avery knew Lily was truly coming back, really coming back, happened on a quiet Thursday morning. Lily sat cross-legged on the rug, drawing with crayons. Ranger lay beside her, head on her knee, guarding even in sleep. Avery was making breakfast when she heard it. A sound so small she almost missed it. A giggle, not a laugh, not a squeal. Just a soft, shy little sound, like Lily wasn't totally sure she was allowed to feel happiness yet. Avery froze. Lily was smiling. A tiny, wobbly smile fighting its way into existence. Tomo 100 mums. She held up her drawing. Look, Ranger. It's us. 2 stick figures. One big, one small. A dog between them. A sun. A house. A tree. And something that looked suspiciously like Avery's squeaky porch swing. Ranger's tail thumped. Weakly, but proudly. Lily giggled again. Avery felt her chest melt. Hey, sweetheart, she said softly. That's beautiful. Lily turned, shy but proud. Do you think Ranger likes it? Avery smiled. Honey, he loves it. Lily set the drawing in front of him. Ranger sniffed it, licked the corner once, then rested his head on it like he was giving his approval. Lily's smile grew, warm like sunrise, warm like spring, warm like remembering the world isn't made only of sharp edges. Later that night, as Avery tucked her in, Lily grabbed her sleeve. Are we a family now? She asked, tiny and unsure. Avery didn't hesitate. Yes, she whispered. We are. Lily blinked hard, swallowing tears. Good tears this time. She placed her hand on Ranger's head. He lifted a paw and set it gently on her leg, like he was asking to stay, or maybe saying, if you'll have me, I'm yours. Lily nodded, a tiny, settling nod. Okay, she whispered. Then don't ever leave, okay? Ranger's paw pressed just a little harder, and something in the room shifted, like the universe clicked a missing piece back into place. A broken girl, a broken dog, a tired nurse with too much heart. Somehow, impossibly, they'd become exactly what each other needed. A family born from ashes. A family that wasn't supposed to exist, but did. And that's the wildest part. Sometimes the best families are the ones life drags together, kicking and screaming. And honestly, watching Lily, Avery, and Ranger slowly turn into this little, stitched-together family was already emotional enough. But nobody was prepared for what came next. Because just when everyone thought the story had finally settled into something safe, fate dropped a truth so wild, so impossible, it changed everything they thought they knew about the battered shepherd who refused to leave Lily's side. It started on a quiet Saturday morning. Avery was burning pancakes, again. Lily was on the floor building a Lego house, and Ranger, snoring softly beside her. His tail thumped every time Lily nudged him. It was peaceful, ordinary, the kind of morning none of them believed they'd ever get. Then, someone knocked at the door. Not loud, not urgent, just a steady, heavy knock that felt official. Avery wiped her hands, opened the door, and there stood Ranger Melissa Hart. Forest Service uniform, dusty boots, a thick brown envelope held like it weighed more than it should. "Hey," she said, "can we talk?" Avery frowned. "Is everything okay?" Melissa stepped inside, and from the second she did, the mood changed. No smile, no small talk. She didn't even remove her hat. She just held that envelope like she wasn't sure whether giving it to Avery would fix something or break it forever. Lily peeked from the corner, Lego brick in hand. Ranger lifted his head beside her. Melissa looked at the dog, really looked, eyes softening in a strange, reverent way. Then she took a breath. "I found something," she said. Avery stiffened. "About Derek?" "No," Melissa said quietly. "About him," she nodded toward Ranger. Avery frowned. "Ranger? What do you mean?" Melissa opened the envelope, pulled out documents, photos, ID tags, all stamped with the same seal. FEMA Urban Search and Rescue, K-9 Division. Avery's heartbeat jumped. "Wait, why does FEMA—" Melissa handed her a photo, and there he was. Ranger. But not this Ranger. Younger, stronger, standing proudly beside a rescue handler in full flood gear. Mud everywhere, sirens flashing behind them. On the back, in marker, Titan, K-9, Unit 7B. Melissa's voice softened. "That's his real name." Avery stared. "You're telling me he's a trained rescue dog?" "Not just trained," Melissa said. Titan was one of FEMA's top K-9 responders, a legend, lost during a mudslide last year. They searched for him for 2 weeks. No body, no signal, nothing. They assumed he died. Avery looked at Ranger, tail tapping weakly on the rug. "But he didn't die," she whispered. "No," Melissa said. "He didn't." Lily walked forward slowly, hand on Ranger's back. "Titan," she whispered. Ranger shifted, subtle but real, like the name lived somewhere deep in his bones. Avery frowned. Okay, but if he survived, why didn't he go back? Why didn't he return to his team? Melissa hesitated. Avery, she said quietly, I don't think he was lost. Avery blinked. What do you mean? I mean, I think he left on purpose. Melissa spread a satellite map across the counter, covered in markers, notes, paths. This is where Titan went missing. She pointed hundreds of miles east. And this is where you found Lily. Avery's breath caught. Those places aren't even close. Exactly. Melissa traced a path through mountains, valleys, forests. He walked it, she said. Avery laughed once, stunned. Walked? Melissa, that's impossible. I thought so too, Melissa whispered. But every ranger station, every wildlife camera, every hiker report, it all lines up. She tapped the envelope. Titan traveled through storms, snow, predators, injuries, always moving, always heading east. Lily stared at him like he was glowing. Avery whispered, Why? Why walk all that way? Melissa looked at Lily, then at Ranger, then back at the table. Because, she said quietly, some animals don't just rescue whoever's in front of them. She swallowed hard. Some go looking for the person they're meant to save. The room went still. Lily's eyes filled instantly. He came for me, she whispered. Ranger lifted his head and nudged her knee. Gentle, certain. Avery pressed a hand to her mouth. You're telling me Titan walked nearly a year just to find Lily? Melissa nodded. Nothing about this is coincidence. The timeline matches. The path matches. And from the moment Titan laid eyes on her, he acted like a dog who had finally found what he'd been searching for. A shiver moved through Avery. Lily slipped her arms around Ranger's neck, burying her face in his fur. You didn't find me by accident, she whispered. You were looking. Ranger leaned into her. Slow, deliberate, gentle. Like a vow. Like a promise. Like destiny finally making sense. And honestly, after learning the truth about Titan, about how he crossed mountains and storms and 11 months of hell just to find the little girl he'd never met, but somehow already belonged to, life in Redwood Valley felt different, softer, brighter, like the universe finally decided, okay, you've suffered enough. Here's your sunlight. And sunlight really did come. Spring rolled into Redwood Valley slowly, the way it always does in Colorado. Warm days with a stubborn chill, patches of snow melting in corners, the scent of pine drifting in like a promise. Avery decided they all needed fresh air, real air, the kind that doesn't smell like antiseptic and heartbreak. So one golden afternoon, she packed a blanket, some sandwiches, and a stubborn determination to give Lily one good memory, one not stained by fear. They drove out to Crystal Lake, where the water was just beginning to thaw, sunlight glinting across the surface like broken glass, finally turning whole again. And Lily, God. Lily didn't walk toward it. She ran. Not fast. Her legs were still healing. But with this wild, clumsy joy, like she didn't quite know how to hold happiness yet. She kept looking back, checking to make sure Ranger was behind her. He was. Titan, Ranger, whatever name destiny carved into him, moved with a purpose that felt ancient. Not limping, not dragging his weight, just steady, proud, like a warrior returning to the land he'd bled for. His tail wagged slowly, strong again. His ears perked at every giggle Lily let out. His eyes bright, warm, alive. When Lily reached the lakeshore, she spun around, arms wide, presenting the world to him. "Come on, boy! You're too, slow," Ranger barked. A real bark. Full, sharp, alive. The first Avery had heard since the forest. A bark that sounded like life. He bounded forward, almost knocking Lily over as she burst into laughter. The light, unguarded laughter children are born knowing, but life sometimes steals. Avery stood a few feet back, hands in her jacket pockets, breath catching in her chest. She'd seen Lily cry. She'd seen her tremble, freeze, break apart, drown in nightmares. But she had never, ever seen this. Pure, bright childhood. Something warm stung Avery's eyes. She blinked hard. "Damn," she whispered. "About time." Lily knelt in the grass, Ranger sliding beside her, leaning into her shoulder like gravity itself pulled him toward her. She cupped his face in both hands, then pressed her forehead to his. "Okay, be honest. Which part hit you harder? A, the miracle that he found her? B, the miracle that she found him back? Or C, the truth that maybe they were never meant to be apart in the first place?"